Today on
Doomed!
the news coming out of Gaza is, for the past 6 months has been horrifying. But this week, things really ramped up after Israel ended its operations at Al-Shifa Hospital, leaving it practically in rubble with countless casualties. And now the reports confirmed 100%, with Israel saying it happened, by the way, of jeez, 7 food aid workers, and I want to read their names off, with the World Central Kitchen that celebrity chef Jose Andres' group, well-known, well-respected organization that basically goes all over the world, wherever people are hungry. And wherever there is starvation, wherever there is potential for what we're seeing in Gaza, obviously, this is an organization that's been everywhere. And apparently the one place that's no longer safe for them, because 7 of their food aid workers were killed, is in Gaza. And not because of Hamas, but because of Israel. These 7 food aid workers were targeted. Let's be clear. They were targeted by Israeli airstrikes. Israel says it happened, although it was accidental. When you look through the details of what happened, you will know that it's not an accident like, oops, we thought this was one vehicle and we sent a missile and it was another vehicle and it hit. No, this is a situation where there was a prolonged attack over multiple miles of multiple vehicles targeting the same individuals on a route that the World Central Kitchen had pre-discussed with Israel and the IDF. They knew this was a route where the World Central Kitchen was providing aid to the people of Gaza. They were giving out tons of food. And these 7 people were targeted. And they were attacked for a prolonged period of time over numerous miles. And they were killed. And this includes, well, let me read their names because I think it's important. These individuals: Saifuddin Issam Ayed Abuta, he's a Palestinian. There was Lalzami Zomi Frankum. She was one of the leads of the World Central Kitchen. She seems to have had a prominent role in the organization. There are numerous videos of her discussing their work all over the world while she's at those locations. I think one I saw, she was in Pakistan. Another one in Ukraine. Damian Sobol of Poland. 3 UK citizens, John Chapman, James Henderson, and James Kirby. And then a dual citizen of Canada and the United States of America, Jacob Flickinger. This is a U.S. citizen. And these are food aid workers that Israel knew that were there. And I think it is certainly important to point this out because it's very clear that we're at what now? 30,000 Palestinian men, women, and children in Gaza dead. I believe it's more than that now. We know the vast majority of those numbers are innocent civilians. Clearly the world, outside of very specific circles, news, really, I guess the people in power, really, I should focus on, because I should correct myself. Polling has shown that the vast majority of people do not support what's going on in Gaza, but the governments of the West don't hold that same position. Our politicians. And so 30,000 Palestinians killed, apparently, did not move the needle over the past 6 months. But we are finally seeing a little bit of blowback here because an Australian, people, UK citizens, and an American were killed. But I do think it is worth, it is important to talk about this one, along with all the other ones we talked about. I mean, initially we've been covering it nonstop, but I do think this is, it's important to point this one out because we've already seen the fallout. And the fallout from this is more than what we've seen for the 30,000 Palestinians. By killing these 7 aid workers, we have now seen countless emergency relief organizations announce they're pulling out of Gaza because it's no longer safe. It's no longer safe. I mean, it was never safe. But these organizations, unfortunately, believe that Israel would allow them safe passage and safe haven while doing their important work in Gaza to make sure an entire people aren't wiped out. I mean, this is, I don't even, and the reaction from the world has been outrage, but a significant number of people are still not pointing their ire, their outrage at the individuals responsible for this, and that's Israel. I mean, let me give you the details, people who don't know. So, these 7 food aid workers had just arrived at the warehouse where they were making the meals. I believe they had already distributed tons of food that day. And when they left, they were hit by, their vehicle was targeted and hit by an Israeli airstrike. And they managed to escape that vehicle and then pile into another vehicle that was part of their convoy. And that vehicle drove. And then that vehicle was hit. And then a number of people who made it out of that vehicle then got into a third vehicle that was part of the convoy and continued to drive. And then that third vehicle was struck, killing all 7 of the World Central Kitchen food aid workers. This was a stretch of land from the warehouse to the final car that was numerous miles. This wasn't, oh no, look what we did. No. This was pinpointed attacks over a prolonged period of time over a stretch of land. Now, the IDF apparently, and they've said this was them. This isn't a situation where it's like, could this have been terrorists? Did Hamas do this? No, we know who it was because they've admitted to it. They said it was an accident. Their version of events, though, is that when they saw these vehicles arriving to the warehouse, they noticed a armed gunman on the truck arriving at the warehouse. Although they admit that when the individuals who left, the food aid workers who got killed, when they left and got into the vehicles in that convoy, there was no armed gunman with them when they were pinpointed for the attack. But the reason they were targeted to begin with was they noticed an armed gunman. Now, who gives a fuck? They knew those were food aid workers. They knew that's where they were. You cannot kill 7 innocent food aid workers because you saw what you think was a gunman. Second of all, they have no idea who that gunman is. As we know, the situation in Gaza is dire. And so there have been security, local police forces, who had gone out, who go out with the food aid workers, with the food convoys, to distribute the food, to ensure that chaos doesn't break out as people who are in dire straits, dying of hunger, get desperate for their food rations. So yeah, it's not out of the ordinary that there would actually be armed security with these food aid workers to ensure everybody's safety. But here we are. These 7 food aid workers killed. 7 people to add to the 30,000 plus civilians in Palestine who have been killed. And then there was a story out. Actually, let's get to this in a second. I want to play some clips here, cause some interesting clips here. Hold on one second. Okay, so Barak Ravid, who's a political reporter for Axios, and he's very sort of embedded with higher ups in Israel. Like he gets sourcing and information that other reporters don't usually get. I believe he is from Israel himself. He went on CNN and sort of broke down what's going on here. And I think, this is a guy who I've seen him, sort of, he gets scoops that others don't get. But I've also seen him be, a little bit biased at times, honestly. But this particular report, though, is important to hear from him and telling. Let's listen to this. Let's play this clip. Give me one second here. All right, this is Barak Ravid of Axios on CNN.
And global affairs analyst Barak Ravid. Barak, thanks for being with us. Great to see you. I want to ask about the result of this airstrike on the World Central Kitchen humanitarian aid workers. Yoav Gallant, the Israeli defense minister, alerted Israeli defense forces to, quote, maintain an open and transparent line of communication with international organizations like the WCF. He also ordered the creation of a joint situation room to try to coordinate distribution of aid in Gaza. I'm surprised those things weren't happening already.
Well, the problem with this incident was not miscoordination. The problem is also that there was no line of communication. That was not what happened. The movement of this convoy was coordinated with the IDF. This convoy moved on a road that is a humanitarian corridor that the IDF knows that cars that are driving on this road are carrying humanitarian aid. The IDF is a partner of the World Central Kitchen in its work in Gaza. It gives security to the boat that is coming from Cyprus and delivering the aid. It's not some rogue group that started delivering aid in Gaza. It was all coordinated. And this is why the claim that this was quote unquote unintentional raises a lot of questions.
I mean, this is important stuff. I mean, there's more here that's very interesting. But this is important stuff to really, like, this was heavily coordinated. World Central Kitchen is a very high esteemed, established, well-known organization. This, again, this isn't, and, you know, the point here isn't to say that one group is better than another group. But the point here is to show that the World Central Kitchen went through the process they went through to get to Gaza and coordinate the distribution of this food aid was so meticulously planned out, like how a major sort of worldwide organization would have to plan these things out. This wasn't like a little indie group, little independent organization that doesn't really have the funds or the means, so they just went in, Gonzo style, DIY style, and did what they could. No, this was extremely well planned out, and every step of the way worked in tandem with Israel, the Israeli government, the IDF, to ensure they would be able to do this without any issues. Oh, whoops, I just fast forwarded it. I hit the wrong button. All right, well, we'll rewind a little bit, sorry.
The world has been promised will come.
It was all coordinated. And this is why the claim that this was quote unquote unintentional raises a lot of questions.
To that point, Barak, what are you hearing from your sources inside the Israeli government about the investigation that the world has been promised will come following this incident? The White House, through John Kirby, the spokesperson of the National Security Council, essentially said that he wants it to be thorough, he wants it to be transparent, and he wants accountability. Given what you just laid out, is that really possible?
I think, and I spoke to several U.S. and Israeli officials who were concerned that this investigation will result in the same result of many previous investigations, that there is an investigation, but at the end, it's nobody's fault, okay? Nobody knows who gave the order. Nobody did anything wrong. It was the aid workers that maybe killed themselves. And I think that I heard a lot of Israeli officials today that were highly frustrated by the fact that somebody in the IDF, most likely a very senior officer, at least a colonel, you need at least a colonel to approve such a strike. So somebody did approve it on a quite high level in the IDF. And there's a lot of frustration that such a thing happened when it's clearly against all the rules of engagement.
That is stunning. I'm wondering, Barak, among officials you've spoken with, is there significant concern that this kind of attack is going to further erode public sentiment and global support for Israel?
I think we're sort of like beyond that point by now. Obviously, it's not that this strike is going to improve Israel's image abroad, and obviously it's going to most likely increase the international pressure, especially because you have nationals from at least 4 countries that were killed in this incident. The Israeli ambassador to London was summoned. The Polish foreign minister called the Israeli foreign minister. The US, we heard what John Kirby said. So obviously it's going to increase the pressure on Israel. But I think what we saw in this incident, and we have to say it openly and directly, this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody. There were previous incidents with the same results, but there were no foreign nationals, so nobody cared, or people cared less. 3 Israeli hostages were killed by Israeli soldiers because of the exact same reason. There is not enough of respect and full implementation of the rules of engagement in Gaza by IDF soldiers.
The timing is also significant because, as you're pointing out, that there is increased pressure in at least the rhetoric coming from the White House. They recently announced this huge deal, the biggest deal for military aid, sending these fighter jets to Israel in the teens, billions of dollars for these fighter jets. So it doesn't seem like just the rhetoric is going to change the attitude of the IDF, right?
Again, I think the problem is that there's a disconnect between the IDF leadership that sits in the IDF headquarters and gives orders and procedures to the forces on the ground, and the forces on the ground and the field commanders who apparently are not fully implementing the orders. And I think this is something that we saw from day one of this war. We are 6 months in. It's not that there's no improvement. We see a deterioration in the way that the forces on the ground are not implementing the orders that they get from the IDF command.
Barak Ravid, always appreciate your...
So, to be clear here, because I think he's I think it was pretty strong from him, actually, but he's still sort of sugarcoating it. And even without the sugarcoating, this is, in my estimation, not exactly what is going on either. But what he's saying, without really saying it, is that the IDF forces, both commanders on the ground and, foot soldiers who are carrying out orders, they are going rogue in Gaza. And they are doing whatever they want. And that's why we are seeing such destruction. Because they're not listening to the IDF generals and, the ones who sit in in Tel Aviv or whatever. The ones who were seated by Netanyahu at the Knesset. And if that's the case, we have a problem here. If that was the case, we have a problem here. Now, I do think it's sort of probably slightly the case. I do think, those high up in command are a little bit more weary of carrying out. Let me make it even clearer. I think this is all what they really want. But in, Netanyahu and members of his cabinet, or at least some members of his cabinet, the government as a whole, the IDF leaders, they are more conscious of the media and how they look and public opinion, even in Israel, public opinion. So they wouldn't just wantonly do this. But if this version of events that he said on CNN was correct, then I would say it's a really big problem that a significant portion of the IDF has apparently gone rogue and has decided to do whatever the fuck they want and just kill people incessantly, strike whomever they want. And we have decided, the United States government and the rest of the West has decided not to do anything about it. Not even get your shit together, rein these people in, and put together an actual plan. Now, that's not what I even agree with, but I'm talking about even from the U.S. government perspective, what you could imagine them possibly doing. So if that was the case, if the IDF position is we have officers going rogue, then if I was the United States president, again, if I was the U.S. president, we wouldn't be supporting Israel, period. But if I was the U.S. president, if I was Joe Biden, if I was in Biden's brain, if I was Jiminy Cricket to Joe Biden's Pinocchio, I would be like, well, listen here, son. Doing my best Jiminy Cricket, by the way. Listen here, son. You got to stop this. You can't let this go on like this. You need to have a line drawn in the sand and say, stop this. Bring those soldiers in. Get your shit together. Recall people. But we now know that while Joe Biden is very angry, that 7 aid workers, including a United States citizen, like I personally think every human life is equal. So again, for me, U.S. citizen or not, doesn't really matter. But in terms of what I was brought up by, what we not just Mike, I'm not saying like I was brought up by my family like this. I mean, we as Americans have heard over and over again as we've been brought up in this country, hearing from the media, our officials, we don't let attacks on citizens go unanswered. Am I still in character? No, I'm not still a Jiminy Cricket, I guess. I'm not doing a good Jiminy Cricket impression anymore. I think I had it before. Well, listen here, son. I guess it's a little bit of Jiminy, right? Anyway. Apparently, while Joe Biden is very outraged, he even put out a statement on these 7 aid workers, something he didn't do for any Palestinians, as far as I've seen, as far as I can recall. Maybe he put out 1 or 2 statements early on, or at some point. Again, this is 6 months now. Should be putting out a fucking statement every single day. Shouldn't be doing this again, but Joe Biden, outraged, but not going to do anything about it. Stay in the course on Israel. There'll be no change. I want you to know how ridiculous this is. This is so ridiculous. I mean, you know how ridiculous this is, but I want you to know how ridiculous this is, because it is so ridiculous that Morning Joe and their guests, former Bush officials, are saying, what the fuck's Joe Biden doing here? Let's play these 2 clips.
This has been bubbling up from behind the scenes for a while. President Biden, frankly, is furious at Prime Minister Netanyahu. But yet still his administration has not conditioned weapons sales, conditioned aid. They haven't done it yet. Now, maybe this is the moment that comes. This also happens just, we think, a week or 2 perhaps before this Rafah offensive, which really could be a flashpoint.
Okay, I'm so sick of hearing how upset President Biden is. The buck stops with him. If he wants to stop arms sales, if he wants to stop the bombs that are indiscriminately killing civilians, he can. He has the power. We don't need him going and his aides going to reporters and talking on background about how upset they are. What happened yesterday is still going to happen. At Mika's conference, the head of the Palestinian Red Crescent spoke, and she was incredibly moving. This was in Abu Dhabi. And she spoke about the difficulty of aid getting in the country period, from the north or south. And she described a process that was kind of like the TSA changing the rules every single day, going through airport security. Until those checkpoints are working and aid is going through, we don't need to be giving any more arms sale or money. It needs to stop. It needs to be conditional. It's ridiculous that it's going on unchecked and unfettered, and we're sitting around and talking how upset we are while we hemorrhage billions of dollars.
It's the worst of all worlds right now for the president. The criticism looks increasingly empty. It's 6 months. We're reaching the 6 month.
Okay, so there's more here, and this guy actually says some good stuff in this next clip. So, I'll give him. I'm not gonna give him a break, but that was pretty bad. It's pretty bad from him right there. But let's pick it up from here.
Sitting around and talking how upset we are while we hemorrhage billions of dollars.
It's the worst of all worlds right now for the president. The criticism looks increasingly empty. It's 6 months. We're reaching the 6 month milestone of this war. That's one fact to begin with. And two things have happened in the last few days. One is these attacks are continuing, and yet so are U.S. arms transfers to Israel without conditions. They've been going on for 6 months. Why does Israel need 2,000-pound bombs to be used in high-density populated areas? Then, 10 days ago, what does Israel do? It expropriates 2,000 acres of land in the West Bank for settlement construction. Where is the White House reaction to that? That is how you undo even the possibility, Joe was talking about it, of one day getting to a two-state solution. If you're going to have a Palestinian state, the last I checked, states are built on territory. If the territory isn't there to build it on, you can talk about two states till the cows come home. You don't have it. Where's the administration reaction to that? So at some point, the words become empty, and the Biden administration is very close to having reached a point where their criticism of Israel is too much for the same people who criticize Chuck Schumer, but it's not nearly enough to affect the course of what is going on. That is the worst of all possible worlds.
It looks weak and impotent. You were in the HW administration at the State Department.
At the White House.
At the White House. What would James Baker have done? And seriously, that's what we should be asking ourselves, because that was a moment when we were a diplomatic superpower.
So we confronted Israel, and if you remember at the time, Israel was subsidizing people leaving the Soviet Union, and they were going into the occupied territories. We basically said to Israel, we'll help these people to get out of the Soviet Union, but we're not going to subsidize their going into the West Bank. That forecloses options. We understand you may not have a Palestinian partner today, but we want to preserve the option for the day when we might be. And the administration basically said to the Israelis, you have a choice. They made their choice. There's that economic consequences. This administration has got to have some teeth in it.
So, Richard, let me put it bluntly to you. Does Benjamin Netanyahu give a damn that Joe Biden is upset, frustrated, and outraged by what he's seeing? And if not, what would make him give a damn?
No, he doesn't. And indeed, increasingly, he's trying to position himself as someone in front of the Israeli body politic saying, you may not like me. You may think I made a mistake on October 7th, but I'm all that stands between you and American pressure. So he doesn't care. What would he care about? He would care about damaging the relationship with Israel's most important benefactor. And that would mean the United States, I'm sorry to say, I'm sorry it's come to this, Willie, that we have to basically have some sanctioning of what Israel does. Not just the stuff in the UN. It's got to be conditioning arms deliveries, and it's got to be, I would think, some trade sanctions, for example, against goods coming out of West Bank settlements. Why should they be able to come here, for example, without certain tariffs or other economic penalties? We've got to basically, we can't have a policy based on persuading Israel. We have to increasingly have an independent policy that reflects our interests and values.
Coming up, our next.
I mean, this is Morning Joe. Joe Biden watches this show. I'll be honest. I don't know what to do here anymore. Like there was a primary in New York yesterday, and honestly, because of everything going on, for the first time in my life, I didn't even care. I've done my duty to always vote for the lesser of two evils. After Bernie Sanders lost the primary in 2016, easy peasy. Told everyone, we got to stop Trump. We'll vote for Hillary. I voted for Hillary, no problem. Was the easy thing to do. Easy to do at the time. 2020, Bernie Sanders lost. Listen, we got to stop Trump. We're going to vote Joe Biden. And then, over the past, 2.5 years, almost 3 years, you could go back and listen to this show. All my streams. I probably handed it to Joe Biden more than most people with my politics. Thought he was doing a decent job as president. Bar extremely low. That's always the caveat. But comparatively, wasn't doing so bad. I can't right now say I'm going to vote for Joe Biden in November. And if you've listened to this show, again, for the past, I don't know, since I've been on the majority board, since I've been doing this since 2011, I've never said that before. Nor can I advocate for other people to go vote for Joe Biden in November. I mean, what do we do here? What do we do here? Like, what do we do? Well, I don't know what to say at this point. And if anyone's going to give me the business about it, then I'll continue to say November is months away. I'm not saying it's done. He's got to do something. He's got to do something. Like, I can't do it anymore, man. Wanda says, I'm focusing on state and local issues in my backyard. Will not focus on Biden. Absolutely. You want to help stave off anti-abortion laws? You want to stop attacks on migrants? We're going to do it at the state level and the local levels. I mean, Magaconda says, don't complain if Latino children end up in cages again, Binder. I mean, they never stopped. And based on Joe Biden's recent, you can go listen to me saying that Trump and Biden's position on immigration is a reason to vote for Joe Biden. I was just saying this about a month and a half ago, maybe. And then Joe Biden came out as a hardliner against immigration. Every single time I've given Biden a pass because he holds a better position on something than Trump, he fucking immediately turns around and fucking says, I don't care about that anymore, or I'm not for that. He did it with abortion. He did it with abortion. He started amping up his own personal anti-abortion rhetoric over the past few weeks. You know, I think Wanda's got a point here. We advocate, I mean, it's clear, but it's important to hear it from other people too. I'm not saying don't vote for Democrats. Vote for Democrats. Obviously vote for Democrats. Every politician I've ever voted for in my life has been a Democrat, unless I voted third party in an election where it didn't matter. Like I voted for a Green Party candidate once as a protest against Chuck Schumer. Not like Chuck Schumer was losing in New York. But I mean, what I'm not going out saying I'm voting third party. I'm certainly not coming out saying I'm voting for Trump. I'm saying I cannot advocate to vote for Joe Biden at this point in time. And it's the first time I've ever had to say that. I mean, I'm sure people will call me selfish. I mean, I didn't do this to Hillary 2016 or Joe Biden 2020 when Medicare for all was on the line, something that would have affected me and my family and everyone I know pretty much. And I'm not in Gaza. So if that's selfishness, putting that issue that high up, then I guess I'm being selfish. Again, Joe Biden could change it. He could turn it all around. He could turn it all around. It's very simple. Say enough. Cut it off. End it. Now. Yes, 30,000 plus dead. But we could also make sure not another person dies, too. And for that, I'd give you my vote. And I'd tell other people to vote for you, too. But until that happens, I can't say it. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. Like I said, I feel like a joke. I feel like a fool. Every single time I would say, yeah, Biden was bad on this, but still this, he'd turn around and say, yeah, well, fuck that too. There's no bright side here anymore. You guys know me. I'm continuously the optimist. When you got actual Republicans on TV saying, what the hell is Joe Biden doing here? With his unconditional support for Israel after all this. Not even the most mealy-mouthed of sanctions. Then what are we doing here? And this was an incredible report. This was in the New York Times from Jonathan Swan. It was about two Israeli journalists, right-wing journalists, Here, I'll read it to you. It's in the New York Times, Jonathan Swan. 2 Israeli journalists traveled to Palm Beach, Florida a little over a week ago. This is from just earlier this week, by the way. A little over a week ago, hoping to elicit from Donald J. Trump a powerful expression of support for their country's war in Gaza. Instead, one of them wrote, "What they heard from Mr. Trump at Mar-a-Lago shocked us deeply." Now I thought, he must have said something absolutely horrendous about doing something absolutely disgusting to innocent people in Gaza. This is quotes here, but we'll continue to listen. Both U.S. presidential candidates, Biden and Trump, are turning their rhetorical backs on Israel, concluded Ariel Kahana. I mean, this is how deranged this is. Biden turning his back on Israel. What world are these people living in? But concluded Ariel Kahana, a right-wing settler who is the senior diplomatic correspondent for Israel Hayom. The newspaper is owned by the billionaire Republican donor Miriam Adelson. Miss Adelson herself arranged the interview with Donald Trump, according to a person with direct knowledge of the planning. What had Mr. Trump said that so alarmed Mr. Kahana? He told the interviewers that Israel was losing public support for its Gaza assault, that the images of devastation were bad for Israel's global image, and that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu should end his war soon. Statements that sounded far more like something President Biden might say than the kind of cheerleading Mr. Netanyahu has come to expect from Washington Republicans. You have to finish up your war, Mr. Trump said. You have to get it done. You have to get to peace. We can't have this going on. The statement apparently troubled Mr. Kahana even more than Mr. Biden's warnings to Israel. Mr. Biden has called for a 6-week ceasefire in exchange for Hamas releasing Israeli hostages. In the interview excerpts released by Israel Hayom, Mr. Trump did not qualify his call for Israel to finish the war by insisting on the release of hostages. Let's be completely clear here. These right-wing Israeli settlers who work for a right-wing funded outlet in Israel were upset with Trump because even Donald Trump wasn't right-wing enough on this issue for them. In fact, they thought Biden sounded better than Trump on this. I'm not saying Trump is to the left of Biden on this. I'm saying to Israel, it'll never be enough from either Trump or Biden. And on this particular moment, Trump wasn't right-wing enough for them. Because he said the war's got to end. I mean, what? I mean, just, you know. Yeah. That's where we are. That's where we are. When we can't even get aid, food, basic human necessities to the innocent men, women, and children. I don't know what these numbers are now because so many people have been killed. But I recall reports that close to half of the people living in Gaza are children under the age of 18, kids. A good point, Tom Trask. The genocide can stop short, but it's not a war. You're right. Absolutely. Good catch. It's not a war even. I mean, we can't even get that to them. And I should point out, you know that U.S. port, the temporary port they've been talking about building in Gaza so the U.S. can get aid into into Gaza. And Israel has been because Israel has been blocking aid getting into Gaza. That's now up in the air because World Central Kitchen was going to be the U.S.'s partner in getting that food into Gaza via that port. But now they are pulling out because 7 of their aid workers were killed. But Daredevil says that the temporary port is a bad joke. Yeah, well now it's even a worse joke. How does the Biden administration not step in here and do something that isn't providing more weapons and money to Israel? I'm asking for the bare minimum here. I'm not asking for something for me. I'm asking for the U.S. government to do something about their closest ally. Supposedly, even according to Israeli journalists, going rogue in Gaza and indiscriminately killing innocent civilians and aid workers. If we bare minimum can't do that, then who? What's the point? Why? What's the point of having a Democrat in office as the president? Because you know what? I bet if Trump or another Republican was in office, I bet because they would be in office and they would be seen as the ones responsible, elected Democratic officials would be attacking exactly the same position they're supporting. So vote for your U.S. senators. Vote Democrat for your U.S. senator. Vote Democrat for your House of Representatives rep. Vote Democrat for your state assembly, your state senate. Vote Democrat all the way down. But until this administration does something here, I can't say the same for president. I cannot. He has till November. It's plenty of time. All right, let's take calls. Yeah, I gotta say he really, Joe Biden really views. I don't know if it's just Palestinians, maybe Muslims as a whole. Really, he really views them as not as important. It's very clear, and it's not just coming from me. There was a very telling report in, I think it was New York Magazine. Who is that journalist? I'm having a mental block, so I can't find it. Who's that journalist who does that? His reporting is basically that series of interviews where he gets the person he's interviewing to say shockingly open things. Like he's a great interviewer. He really gets things out of them. I want to make it clear too, because I see people talking about voting third party. I'm not saying vote third party either. I'm not voting third party. I am openly advocating to hold your vote in an effort to force this administration to do something. There's no one who's going to win, and there's no one I care for who I think will do anything, honestly. But I'm asking for the bare minimum and drawing some lines so that innocent people aren't being indiscriminately killed here. Chotner, that's it. Thank you. Isaac Chotner, right. This isn't just like a bunch of random left-wing streamers and no. Isaac Chotner with the New Yorker. Just his latest piece is an interview with Aaron David Miller, a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment and former State Department official who played a role in Middle East peace negotiations, most notably at the end of the Clinton administration. And in this, I encourage you to go read it, but this was a really telling part. It's at the very end of the piece. And Chotner says, I could be wrong, but when I was listening to you talk and you discussed the horrors of October 7th, I sensed an emotion in your voice that I haven't heard at any other time in this conversation. I don't want to criticize that, but I do wonder if the people who make policy in America don't have the same emotion when it comes to Palestinian lives. Do you think that's fair? And then this guy says, I think it's fair to say yes. That America and Americans have a pro-Israeli sensibility. I don't think there's any question about that. Clinton wrote in his memoir that he loved Yitzhak Rabin as he loved no man, rarely loved any other man, which is extraordinary. I watched Clinton grieve in the wake of Rabin's murder, and when Biden gave that speech on October 10th, you watched the tears well up in his eyes. He talked about the black hole of loss. He conflated the tragedies in his own personal life with what Israelis felt on that day. And then Chotner says, yes, that's very moving, but there is another kind of loss going on now, which he apparently can't conflate with his own experience. And then this guy replies, oh, if you're asking me, do I think that Joe Biden has the same depth of feeling and empathy for the Palestinians of Gaza as he does for the Israelis? No, he doesn't, nor does he convey it. I don't think there's any doubt about that. This is so obvious to even these guys, former State Department officials who worked within Democratic administrations. I mispronounced the former. Yes, I mispronounced the former Israeli. I didn't realize until I was Rabin, right? It was my bad. I was not realizing that's who he was talking about as I was reading through it. My bad. But I mean, there you have it. I have it. Tom says, who is the best candidate on your ballot for Palestine? There is none. There is none. There is none. That's the sad part about it. There's not a single candidate on that ballot that's going to do anything for Palestine. We're beyond policy differences here. We're basically in a position where we're being told that voting in November, until someone steps up and does something, voting in November means the continuation of the indiscriminate slaughter of innocent civilians in Gaza. All right, let's go to the second half, man. I mean, I don't know if people have realized, but like, I feel like my with rare weeks where things weren't that bad, I feel like since October there's been. I mean, I felt different. It's been just getting progressively like. That's why I try to focus on. I mean, I still pay attention to the news, but I try to focus on other things so I don't become a mess. I don't know how you can see what's going on there and just, not fucking get upset. I mean, it's important for your own mental health and for your family and for the people around you not to dwell. And again, we have the privilege to not have to do that. But it's been. I don't get how people just. It's just. All right, let's go to the second half of the show. It's rough, man. John Morano says, I predict the day before his ship sinks in November that Biden will try and put a bow on the genocide, but it'll be too late for his presidency. I will say that I am giving him, personally, I would, if he did something, even that late in the game, not preferable, obviously, I would then vote for him simply because that move would be better than Trump. But I don't see a difference now, honestly. There's seriously, on this issue, there's seriously no difference. And honestly, based on his changing right-wing rhetoric for a number of other issues, I'm starting to think there's not much of a difference, period. The difference would be in the Supreme Court and whether you think another liberal justice is going to die in the next 4 years. If it was looking like that, maybe that would be the issue that would get me to actually choke it up and vote for Biden. Hold my nose and vote for Biden in November. That would be that. If Sotomayor was looking bad over the next few months, then that would be the issue to vote for Biden. And again, I say this as someone who, after Bernie lost, because I know the critics are out there, after Bernie lost in 2016 and 2020, the clear path was there, the sensible path was there to vote for Hillary in 2016 and then Joe Biden in 2020. And I did that. And I told other people to do that when they asked me. The Joe Biden of 2024 is not the same Joe Biden of 2020, in terms of the policy he was focusing on, at least. On the domestic policy he was focusing on over the first, primary season and then the election and then the first 2 years of his presidency, not bad. But now that's not the course anymore. I'm thinking this whole episode will just be for I'll keep it up on YouTube, but podcast wise, this whole episode will probably just be for members. So let's just keep the ball rolling, okay? But if you aren't Patreon.com/Matt Binder. Please support the show if you can. Again, we've been, it's been. No one has told me it's been because of content. People who've had to cancel their memberships in the exit surveys, I would say 99% of people say it's because of financial reasons. And I could say I've felt it. Those years immediately preceding the pandemic, I guess with the extra little money from the stimulus checks, just to show you how even that every little bit helps. For the first time in a long time, me and my family were like, good. I was able to pay off my bills. We weren't racking up debt. I was actually starting to chisel away at outstanding debt that I've held for my entire life, pretty much, since I've had to pay for my own things in college and even high school. But I felt the money, that extra little bit of money is dwindling away as prices rise and salaries do not. And I feel like even financially, we're in I can't even say we're in a good place economically like we were. There felt like a recovery. From people, a lot of people I talked to who were like, I was doing okay. And now that's dwindled away. That's not the case anymore. They're back to where they were. So people have had to cancel because of that. So I totally get it if you had to cancel. And if you can't become a patron because of that, totally get it. This isn't for you. Keep enjoying the show. I pretty much put as much content out there as I can for free. Very rarely do I paywall anything. Completely. But if you got some extra money, if you're doing all right, if you got some extra spending money, some extra cash, and you enjoy what I do here, consider becoming a Patreon at patreon.com/MattBinder. You can also support the show by dropping a super chat at youtube.com/MattBinder. I'll read the super chat. I'll read your super chats live on the show. Same with your paid Twitch chats at twitch.tv/MattBinder. If you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, you get a free Twitch Prime subscription every month. It comes for free with your paid Amazon Prime subscription, and it gets me paid if you subscribe to me with your free Twitch Prime subscription. So if you haven't used it, it's just going to waste. You're just letting Amazon keep more of your money, so use it. And you can also become a member on YouTube as well if you prefer that. And let's go to the second half of the show. I'm gonna just quickly put the small music break up so I can get a drink. Call into the show via Skype. Search Doomed Live. You'll find it. And I'll be taking calls and reading your super chats. Give me just a second. And if you stay right here on the stream, I'm going nowhere. But if you're leaving me, then I will see you next time on Doomed.
Ecological collapse, corporate fascism, corporate journalism, police brutality, voter suppression, austerity economics, education masses, rampant homophobia, armed strength.
We got our first caller.
What's up, Matt?
Hey,
You from Jamaica?
Dave from Jamaica. How are you doing? All right, I am back. Let's do this. Oh, I see people asking the best way to give to me. I do get the most money via Patreon. If you subscribe via Patreon, patreon.com/MattBinder, they only take like, I think 10%, and half of that I think goes to the Stripe or whatever the payment processing fees, and 5% goes to them. YouTube takes a chunk, like 30% or 40% or something like that. Twitch takes a huge chunk, like 50% or something like that. But listen, if you prefer to subscribe via YouTube because you like the emotes, you also get a free super chat with your subscription. Do whatever you prefer. I'm not going to be a stickler for a couple of bucks from each person. If you want to subscribe via Patreon, my goal is to give you guys as many ways to subscribe as possible. So you could choose whatever one you want. And if you want to even give more than $5, my goal is to have those extra payment methods so you can get extra stuff too. Like if you were to subscribe to Patreon and YouTube and give me like $10 a month, you also get the Patreon and you get the YouTube stuff. And I'm going to get that newsletter rolling out really soon. I've got a lot to say in the newsletter. And I will have some paywalled stuff on the newsletter. So you'll be able to give me, subscribe to the newsletter, and, the newsletter subscription will just support the newsletter. The YouTube subscription just supports the live stream bonuses. The Patreon subscription supports like the podcast and the overall production of the shows. Everything supports something, and you just basically give me whatever gives you the best in return. Don't look at it as which gets me the most money percentage-wise, unless that's how you want to decide how to give it. But all right, let's pick up these Skype calls. Bunch coming in now. That's why I thought I was going to do a shorter first half this week, because I know there was a bunch of calls that I didn't get to last week. I thought I would give more time to that. I wasn't expecting to talk about today's topic. Oh, Brian B., thank you so much for the Patreon subscription. Really appreciate it. I'll get to the super chats and those gift subscriptions in just a moment. Let's take these calls. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Me?
Yes, this is you. Let me pull you up on the Hey, how you doing?
Matt?
Yeah, how are you? Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh wait, hold on.
Sorry,
You might not be hearing me as well as you can, because hold on, Skype isn't using the right source. Hold on for my microphone. 1 second. All right, I should sound much clearer for you now. Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, sounds good. Why can't I see you? Oh, I guess because I'm on Skype. I feel like I used to be able to see.
Yeah, you should be able to see me. I could see you, and it says I'm showing you my video.
Matt is using a device that could record or broadcast this call.
That's just basically the thing that puts your feed onto my live stream.
Oh, I got your YouTube up. Okay. Hold on. Sorry.
It's all right. Hold on.
All right. I don't know why I can't see you, but I can hear you, so I'm just talking to you. But
I'm glad. Go ahead, and I'll get to what I wanted to say in a second. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just it's Phil from Delaware.
Hey Phil, how you doing? I did, and I'm glad you called in. I'm glad you brought it up, because I actually wanted to. I've opened it. I've had it out on my desk, but I had a feeling you would call in one of these weeks. So before I start every stream, I would take it, and I've been keeping the box this whole time because I want to open it, even though it's been open the entire time. I want to open it on the feed because I want to show everybody how cool it is, but via like an unboxing video. So I'm like doing a pro wrestling kayfabe thing here. I'm pretending I'm opening it for the first time, but it's been on my desk. I've had it out, but let me get the box and unbox it so everyone could see how cool this is. Really cool. Hold on 1 second. Give me just 1 second.
Yep. I'm trying to find out. I don't know if I'm in our actual call. How can I find you? I'm so technologically illiterate. Can you see me? In chat. Oh God. Are you? Am I there still? Am I there? Are you there?
You are. I'm here. Hold on. Hold on.
Okay. This is so weird. I don't know why I can't see that. It's fine. I'm okay with you broadcasting this call. Is that? I might be broadcasting somewhere else in my house. I got it set up. Hey, I'll show you. Are people seeing my video feed? I guess is what I'm asking, Matt. Hello?
People are. You can talk. Give me 1 second.
Okay, let me see if I can flip this around. I've never been able to flip it around, but actually I was finishing up the third in the series. So that one, yours was the first one I made out of three of them. One, I got to get Sam's address. That Kowalski, if you can hear me, I'm like locked out of Discord. I've been trying to figure out how you're mailing Sam beers and stuff. If anybody knows how, and I think the best place to get a hold of me would be in like maybe Matt's Patreon chat or something. Or does it stay in the live chat if somebody put it in the live chat? I can't see the chat. I can't see anything. I don't know what I'm looking at. But I made his off of the one that I made you. I kind of like traced it. Yours is the back of the frame, and then his is the actual glass. And then I made this one for my buddy's friend. Her daughter, her 10-year-old daughter was telling her kids, or telling some kid in school about the genocide going on in Palestine. So I was kind of like inspired to make her something. And it was off of what I made you.
All right, I'm back. I can't find the box. I wanted to do this unboxing, but I can't find the box. So pretend I just took it out of the box. I have so many boxes here because I'm reviewing things for work, for my day job, like reviewing tech stuff. So let's pretend here that I just unboxed it and I'm opening it up. Hold on.
I want to have to go up and see if I can get it on the mic.
All right, here we go.
I'm walking up through my house here trying to see if I can see this.
This has been amazing streaming for everybody. I could just but this is so cool that I wanted to do this on air. Pretend but it's really cool. I know you showed it to me already, but I'm sure a lot of people didn't see it. But all right, here we go. Oh wait, I gotta probably shut my green screen off. 1 second. This is really nice. This is really nice. This is beautiful. This is a beaut. Why don't you tell people how you made it?
Hold on 1 sec. I'll show you. I want to try to see if I can find you, Matt. There you are. For whatever reason, I can't see you on.
That's all right. Let me read. You put spent hours creating this while listening to Doomed and Scam Economy. Really appreciate it, Phil. This is really cool.
Let's see.
Why don't you tell people how you made it? This is beautiful. This is a beaut.
I literally just got done
This
gluing
is this is this is this is glass, right? I remember you telling me
Yeah.
about. Yeah, this is nice.
So this one, this is the third one. I was telling people that I made three of them. Yours was the first, and it's the back of a frame. It's the cardboard part that so you can't really see through it, but it's perfect to just fit into that frame to make a nice gift. For this one, I made it. It's a little bit. So I used that, and then I used the glass, and I actually did one for Sam that I'm trying to get to him, but I can't get his address. And then this one I actually fixed tonight, right before I moved. So I made all three of these in November.
Hold it a little bit higher, so a little bit higher. I know it probably seems. There you go. You got it all in the because the the stream cut off some of it, but now we see it all.
Got it. Yeah. So this one's bigger. This one's too big. I used like a 12-inch picture frame, and the top corner. I don't know if you can tell, but it broke right before I moved. So I made all these right before. The one that I made up for Sam said defund the apartheid, which I guess the lettering, it's already dated. If I had made them a couple weeks later, I probably would have had genocide or something on them. But yeah, it's little pieces of glass. It's kind of been my hobby for the last like 7 years. I've been doing all kinds of the mosaics, and in October I just got obsessed with making those, listening to you guys, and yeah, it's I'm glad that you like it.
Oh, I love it. It's really nice. Oh man, I really appreciate it.
And I was telling everybody, I was like, so I was showing one of my best friend from college. Like, I mean, I was friends with her in high school, but we got to be really tight in college. She moved out to Colorado, so we don't like talk all that time often. But she comes in every once in a while, and she lives in my same neighborhood. So I saw her kids probably 5-6 years ago. She was tiny, Amelia. And now my friend Lauren's telling me her 10, 12-year-old daughter is, getting into fights at school about talking about Palestinian rights, and how all her little peers are. I don't know what could have set her off, but when she said something like that, I was like, oh, I got to make her something. So that's
where does she live that the youth are not pro-Palestine?
Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, but isn't that a pretty? I mean, I've never been, but isn't that fairly? Well, who knows? I don't know.
Well, this was too, and you got to think too. I made it back in November.
Oh,
so,
right.
I mean,
so yeah,
I
public
whipped them up real quick, but then I couldn't get it to you. And with hers, and it had just started. So I mean, like if you remember, I mean, thinking about it now, it was only a couple months ago, right? I missed the show, so sorry. I would have to go back and watch it.
That's totally fine.
I was getting ready to call you tomorrow. I was like, oh, I wonder if you got it. And I'm like, I was thinking that Dune was tomorrow, and I was like, oh shit, that's the Mafia.
I had it on my desk for waiting for you to call in so I could open it, and then I had the box and I put it somewhere, and it's in like this pile of boxes I have. In fact, I don't know if people realize, probably not, because I rarely show my actual green screen, but this is giving you guys a sneak peek of something I'm reviewing. This is a green screen that has lighting in it, so you can actually better light your green screen, like so it's better. Like this is not the green screen I usually use. You can you can't really tell unless I shut it off, but this is basically what I mean. Look, the green screen shuts off and shuts on. You can't really tell because I have my lights on here, so it looks the same probably to you, but it changes just how how accurate the green screen is. It's actually pretty cool. But I'm just giving you an example of something I'm working with here. So I have all these boxes, and I put your box somewhere, and I couldn't find it. But everyone saw the cool thing. Pretend I unboxed it on stream, but you all got to see the actual end product, which is the most important thing to see.
It's so weird. I'm looking at it.
Oh yeah, people want to see it again. So.
On a weird delay. Oh, I can't tell. I'm on like a huge delay. So I can't see what's going on, but that's kind of what I'm working with.
This is, I should say, this is like heavy too. Like this is like this is not just like the design that you're seeing. This is glass. Like this
Well,
is
yeah, and this was big. So this one, what happened was the it's too big. Like all it is the crappy glass from a cheap big box art store.
I'm bending the metal frame hold, like the thing that holds it in, because they're not all bent in, and I'm super scared this is gonna like fall out and break. So I'm like bending them all in right now to make sure that it's as sturdy as possible.
Yeah, so it's not sturdy. So yeah, like this part here, I need to grout it.
Like I probably would not hang this on my wall because I'd be afraid it's gonna fall, or at least not until I get a better frame, maybe. But I would definitely I would put it up on like a desk or something, or like a shelf. Let me see. I'll have to find a place for it, but it's so nice. It's awesome. It's really cool.
Well, I'm glad you like it. And yeah, well, I mean, you're one of the few people that I could first of all that I could talk to, that I could reach out and give to, and it's you know, yeah, you're doing good work out there. I'm a huge fan. You're inspiration, and it was
you're
kind of you.
Too kind. I'm not that great.
You're an artist, and I'm glad that you can appreciate my art. But
no, it's great. It's really fantastic. And I gotta say, you packed it really well in the box too.
well, I learned after. I mean, you should have seen it when they must have like kicked it down your hall to get to you last time.
Oh, so we got lucky. It didn't break.
When it was returned, it got beat up. Well, I mean, I had a pretty packaged. I had them packaged pretty well inside, but like the outside box was like, Jesus Christ. They were like, it's funny. It's like you tell them to put fragile, and it seems like they take extra care to make sure it gets shook up.
Right.
But it's not.
I can't remember where this is from, but it's always stuck with me. I think it might have been on a random episode of the Nickelodeon cartoon Rugrats. But there's an episode where like a guy, like a mover or something, or a delivery guy, just drops this box that he's delivering, like in front of the stoop or something. And he looks at it and he goes, "Hey boss, what does fragile mean?"
What are your kids into? So you got
I gotta say, my 8-year-old and 4-year-old have both been getting into Hey Arnold recently. They watch. Yeah, they're watching it for the first time. The the late '90s Hey Arnold episodes.
I never watched that one. Is that the one? Is that the one that Crowder's in?
No, his is.
That's Arthur.
He's in Arthur. Yeah,
like that one.
Arthur's good. You can't hold anything against Arthur just because a young Steven Crowder's in it.
It's funny. I'm so far out of game. My kids are 20 or 21 and 19 now, so they were into the.
I gotta say, man, you do not look like someone who has a 21 and 19-year-old. Good for you. I mean, I thought I looked young. Jesus Christ.
No, that's good. I try to keep it young. Well, I don't even remember what I was saying. I would when I was calling in earlier, I was drinking constantly, so I was half in the bag half the time, and now I've switched that out for smoking weed, so I'm a little loopier. But I'm not as ridiculous as I probably was when I first started calling in. I don't usually, or I guess more recently, I get to catch you live a lot more often than I do, but than I used to. But you put out the content, so it's always plenty out there for me to catch up on. So
I'm glad. I mean, I've been really I've been wanting to. I mean, the thing is, I really enjoy doing the live streams, obviously, but I'm trying to figure out how to put out more. I mean, I wouldn't if I didn't enjoy doing it. I wouldn't be doing it like as often as I do for the, if you're going to count back at the Majority Report days, I'm on, 13 years now of doing streams at least once a week, although chunks of my life 5 times a week on the Majority Report, chunks of my life 2 to 3 times a week with all the different streams I'm on. So I obviously really enjoy doing it, but unfortunately it still to this day is not I can't do it full time.
Are we able to go back that far in the archives and see
on the Majority Report? Yes. On my own YouTube channel, I really only started doing regular streams on my own YouTube channel in like 2018, I want to say. So still, that's still a chunk of time, and I was doing them once a week at bare minimum once a week.
I wonder how far back I've seen. That's what I was asking. There was the Majority Report. I can't maybe navigate there.
But I do want to do different I do want to try different content too and see how that works. I've been meaning for the longest time. Everyone, if you've been listening to the show for a chunk of time, you've been hearing me say this for as long as you could remember. I want to do short YouTube segments. I just need to find the time to do it. Eventually, I will do it. I want to get this newsletter out, which is more doable because it takes less time than filming and editing a video. But I've been super busy these past couple of months.
I mean, is that what you're
eventually
doing in your day job? Is just writing constantly anyway too?
But I can't obviously. I enjoy doing it obviously, but that's that's a salary position. Like I'm trying to get my own thing off the ground.
No, I know. That's what I'm just saying. It's
just
harder.
And I write all day too already. Yeah, it's not like it's not like I sit down and I'm like, all right, finally to get my written thoughts down. I've already written like at least 1 or 2 articles by the time I'm sitting down doing this stuff.
That's not what I want to do. Yeah, right. Exactly.
So I mean, awesome. I've been trying to figure it out though, because it's clear that I gotta try some other stuff out to give to people, and we'll see what works best. But yeah, you'll all get that stuff soon. But yeah, was there anything else you wanted to talk about? Because otherwise,
no, I just
thanks so much, man.
No, I just think it's just so crazy the way that the whole arc has gone from. Because I just remember when I was making these things, I was thinking in terms of like apartheid, and now it's just like Jesus, it's like freaking full-blown genocide. I guess it just seemed like there was like a hope that it could kind of like turn around, or we could get it going in at least plateau, that it couldn't get worse. It couldn't get worse, and now it's just like we're triple tapping humanity workers, and
all right.
Doesn't seem very hopeful, but anyway,
right.
Keep doing what you're doing, man.
No, thank you,
brother.
Really
I'm glad
appreciate
that you
it.
like your gifts. Have a good night.
You too. Take care, and hope we'll talk to you again soon. Yeah, definitely call back in. Take care. Let's go to this caller. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Annie, and
hi, Annie.
From Western Washington.
State?
Yeah, Washington State.
Hey, Annie from Washington. How are you? What would you like to talk about?
I am calling you to talk to you about why you need to interview me on Majority Report or Leftist Mafia.
Oh, okay. Without turning this call into the interview itself, right?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell me what's going on.
Okay, so my name is Annie Fitzgerald, and a lot of your chat already knows me. I've been on Letterhack, and I was also on Politics and Paper not too long ago. Anyways, I am running for a state house seat in Washington's 38th district.
I love it.
And if I win, I will make Washington State history as being the first elected official who is openly disabled.
Really?
That is why.
That seems like something that would have happened before. That's crazy that it hasn't.
You would think.
Right.
You would think.
Right.
But no.
Wow.
So, yeah, so there are currently a little over 1 million or so disabled people in Washington State. That's probably higher now. That is a figure from like 2021 or so. And so, yeah, I'm looking to change that and hoping to be able to represent the disabled population as well as, everyone in my district. And yeah, I was hoping that maybe, we could get an interview or something because
Yes, for sure.
um,
Let me.
uh,
I don't control the majority report bookings anymore. When I was there full
okay.
time from 2011 to 2015, I was
Mm-hmm.
more active in that. But now I'm just a weekly guest there. I show up, we talk about the news, but I can certainly refer you to them, and
Okay.
they'll take it from there. But in terms of leftist mafia, I can certainly get you on. Let me. Can you send me an email or a Twitter DM or message me somewhere? Just so
Mm-hmm.
I have that, and then I will talk with the leftist mafia folks to schedule which date would be best to have you on.
Yeah, because I really like we have I'm running in a very blue district, and I'm up against two Democrats. I have not declared which one I ultimately plan to run against. But I'm up against one who's kind of a more establishment Democrat, and then the other one is more progressive. I will probably be running against the establishment Democrat because I think it'll be an
Get
easier
more
race.
progressives in, right? Also get more progressives in,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
yes, definitely, definitely. But there's a lot of things going on in my district. Like we're trying to get a minimum wage increase. We're trying to um, or I'm trying to combat the criminalization of homelessness in my district. It's becoming a real problem. I've been kind of trying to speak up at like local city council meetings and stuff. So yeah, I would really, really appreciate anything you can do to help me get an interview. Um, because I need more eyes on my campaign, and that would be great.
Do you have a campaign website up and running yet?
I should have one up by the end of this week,
And
but
when's the election, by the way?
so the primary is in August. It's August 6th. Um, and I have to I have to pay a fee in May to get on the ballot. Because I just don't have enough time to get like 700 signatures. Um, but yeah. So I'm uh doing a lot of like trying to get my name out there, trying to get my website up and running and all that kind of stuff right now. So, but I do have a Twitter account, and been posting there. So,
All
yeah.
right, yeah, definitely. Let's make it happen. DM me on
Okay.
Twitter or
Okay.
message me. Just message me somewhere so I have it.
Okay.
And then we'll make it work.
Okay. What's your email?
You could. I'm eventually gonna set up a email address that's just for like the show and everything, like an official business address. But I just use my personal email for everything, which is just Matt at.
Oh.
It's Matt MATT. It's available
Mm-hmm.
online too. So it's not like I'm telling you something that people don't know. This is the email I use. Okay, Matt MATT at X, like the letter X,
Uh-huh.
xmattx.com. So Matt at xmattx.com.
Okay.
M-A-T-T at M-A-T-T at xmattx.com.
Okay. Okay. I'll send you an email and I'll send you a message on Twitter.
Sounds good. All right.
Awesome.
Looking
Thank you
forward to
for
it.
taking my call.
No, thank you for calling in. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye. Let's go back to the phones. Hey, what's your name? Where you calling from?
What's going on, man?
Oh, it's Hansi. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Doing good. I'm glad you're calling in because I have a feeling I know what you want to talk about.
I'm not gonna. Here's the thing. You're a CM Punk fan, so I'm not gonna waste your time with me bitching about CM Punk because, like, I have like my own imaginary beef with him from like the Stern days. So, you know what I mean? That it's not confirmed, not confirmed. I gotta wait until the official fucking, vindication comes where like you'll find out about which industry people had it in for me, right? So I already spoke on the CM Punk stuff. It just to me it's like more work shoot level fucking shit. You know what I mean? It's like while he's shitting on Tony Khan, he's actually helping him in the sense that you're making it seem like Tony Khan doesn't know what he's doing, but it's like it's another discourse company of making the billionaire look like an incompetent piece of shit. And I'm beyond that fucking discourse of making more billionaires seem like they're dumbed down. So while you're kind of going at him, you're still protecting him by making it seem like he doesn't know what he's doing. So me personally, I hate that kind of discourse because that's how you dumb down your enemies and not actually get to what danger they actually fucking hold in society, if that makes sense.
Say it one more time.
Jesus Christ.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm joking with you. Go ahead. It made sense. It makes sense.
Okay, no. But listen, I understand. Listen, we can go back to that, but the most important thing right now, because the CM Punk shit is not really important, because the Israel Palestine shit is 10 times, 100 times more important. The thing is, like, listen, man, I'm not telling you who to vote for. I'm not shaming you who to vote for. I just hate this note, and I'm not saying you, because again, you're like putting more thought into it, but I hate this notion online that people who like you would think the alt media would be better than what the centrist Democrats like. They'll roll back the same fucking playbook by bringing out Hillary Clinton and bringing out Bill Maher to shame you for not voting for Biden. Do you actually believe they actually want you to vote for Biden? They don't actually, because again, if I believe that the system is run by religious rule and fundamentalist billionaires in general, and the fucking presidents are world champions, it's kind of like they need it to be completely even more shitty with Biden while no one's holding him accountable for what he's doing, like in the Democratic side. And it's just a way to bring in fucking Trump to be the final face of fascism. So I'm not shaming you for not voting for Biden, but can people stop pretending that not voting for Biden is some rebellious move? Like I'm over that portion of it, and I think the alt media would be a lot better than that. Like I'm sitting here watching Anna Kasparian going, "Oh, I'm not going to vote for Biden." Like, they don't want you to vote for Biden. It's being silly on purpose because it's going into a fundamentalist direction.
Right. No, I see what you're saying. Like, honestly, I don't, I don't think it's anything. I don't want to be in this position, man. I want to say, stop Trump, stop the Republicans. And to do so, we have to vote for this obvious candidate. I would like to say it. I'm not one of those people who enjoy doing this. Like, oh, I want to vote for the best possible chance to defeat Donald Trump. That's why I'm saying this now, explicitly in hopes that this changes as soon as possible, but hopefully over the course by November.
No, I listen. I get your listen. I find that your point, like you're not coming here going, "Well, I'm rebellious for not doing it." You're like saying, like you're doing it in a common sense way. You're not doing it in a fear mongering way. I can respect that. Like you're not. I'm not referring to you as like one of these alt media people that think like that. Like for example, like I just get sick of people who are in the alt media who act like they're outsiders and think wow, no one in the establishment is criticizing Democrats. It's like you're all in the establishment and you're criticizing Democrats. And people stop pretending that like it's a big no-no not to criticize Democrats when like billionaire funded shit is criticizing the Democrats. I'm not saying don't do it. You're supposed to criticize the Democrats. I just hate this notion that like, oh, I'm an outsider and nobody in the establishment dares say anything bad about Biden. It's like a lot of you are in the establishment. You're saying bad shit about Biden. What, like you guys are part of the establishment. Why is everyone acting like they're not part of the establishment?
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like
I mean, it's not a radical act to not vote for a Republican or a Democrat. I mean, it just.
Well, not. I mean, so some of these people out there act like here's the thing, man. Here's the thing, okay?
I mean, half the country doesn't vote at all, and they don't do it to be radical. They just don't vote. Like it's just not something that particularly interests them.
No,
or they're not that terribly invested personally in voting. I mean, they don't think they're being radical. So the fact that you would think you're radical to not vote, I mean, welcome to the club. There's hundreds of millions of you.
No, I get that, man. My beef isn't like again. I didn't want to come off like my beef is with you or anything like that. Like it's just like dude. It's like okay, I suffer from severe mental illness, and because it's like listen, man. I'm not saying that I'm right, but I can see where the future is going, and I can see the fundamentalism that's taking over. And it's like there's no hope to stop these fucking people because all these centrist Democrats are Republican to me anyways. And I don't think they hate Trump as much as they say they hate Trump. I think they rather look like they're fucking incompetent and the worst things are happening around them. And then anything that's little bit that is progressive that they say, people then use that message. So like, you know, if you have Trans Visibility Day, you think what they call that's taking over the world and what they call they're trying to erase Christianity.
Wait, did TYT do that?
No, TYT didn't go that far.
Okay, I know you mentioned TYT, and then you went segued into this, so I thought maybe.
I'm talking about the discourse in general, where like I just.
Oh, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe Biden did that to the Christians and made Trans Visibility Day happen on Easter. It was unbelievable. Just another reason I'm pissed at Biden. I mean, it was so fucking stupid. So fucking stupid. The right wing getting mad at that. So dumb.
The thing is, they're not.
And for people who don't know, for people just in case there's someone listening who doesn't know, for the past I don't know how many years since 2009, International Trans Day of Visibility, an international event, not something the United States government makes happen, an international day for trans people. Since 2009 has been held on March 31st. For the first time in, God knows, decades. Easter, which is a holiday that moves around because it always has to fall on a Sunday.
Exactly.
This year, it fell on March 31st, the same day as Trans Visibility Day. And the right wing went apeshit, claiming that Biden proclaimed Easter was Trans Day or something like that, purposefully to bother Christians. Their holiday encroached on Trans Visibility Day, not the other way around.
No, it's like no, but like dude, it's like here's the thing, like they get worked up, but like they like the ones that have like the power and have like the fucking platforms, they know they just have to hammer it down. Like we're beyond the point now of pointing out their hypocrisy because they're just gonna hammer home shit, and they don't like. It's like anyone who fucking makes like you know like purposeful errors and purposeful like perpetuation of shit. They don't ever gotta hold accountability or take like they'll just deny it, even though there's record of them like talking about how they want more fucking takeovers and shit like that. Like even all these stupid atheist dipshits that used to pretend to just be atheists. Like for example, what's his name, Richard Dawkins, for example, he's like worried about fucking no more churches and all that. It's like, why would you give a shit? You're a fucking atheist. And it's like, it's what I suspected about you guys. I suspected about the atheists, the ones that are anti-Muslim. It's more about being anti-Muslim and anti-immigrant, more so than actually being anti-religion as a whole. It's like they look at themselves like they want to be God. They want to be the religion. You know what I mean? That's why I stopped fucking with atheist people who got, like, Bill Maher was a key one. You know what I mean? Like, if I as a Muslim have to condemn like Islamic fundamentalists, I think if you're a good atheist, you have to condemn Bill Maher. That should be a rule. Like, you gotta, you know what I mean? You gotta say, do you condemn Bill Maher before you talk to me if you're an atheist, essentially? You know what I mean? Because again, I'm just so sick and tired of the pretentiousness in where everything is going, bro. And this is why I feel the end of my fucking time, because I don't know, I'm not gonna be able to survive if we move into fundamentalism, man. I don't know how I'm gonna survive. I'm sure a lot of other people will gladly fucking join the NWO. I'm not ready to, man. I want to be DDP, where they give me a shirt and I give Donald Trump the fucking diamond cutter and I run through the audience, basically. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what even to say to that. You want to talk wrestling? Let's talk wrestling.
Wait. So, what were
it's
your
WrestleMania week, baby? It's WrestleMania week.
This depresses me because I've never been to a Mania, and I feel like because I was exiled from
I went to one the last time they were at MetLife Stadium. That was 2020. It was a bad WrestleMania. 2013. The one where it was John Cena versus The Rock twice in a lifetime. The second time around.
So you're there for Punk versus Undertaker, though, right?
I was, yes. That was okay. That was a good match. Yeah.
See, because
and I was also there for the ridiculous Triple H versus Brock Lesnar match where they buried Brock.
Yeah, that was shit. No, see, the thing is, like, I felt like when wrestling became when the whole culture changed in 2010s, and I felt like because I didn't go to the next level on the Stern Show, I felt like I wasn't allowed to be embraced by the wrestling community, to be allowed to go to these events or be invited. You know what I mean? I always saw myself being an important part of at least being I guess because I didn't compromise myself. So for example, it just feels like I'm never allowed to go to the Mania festivities. So it always feels depressing to me because you know what I mean? I'm not I guess I had my opportunity, bro, to be kind of an insider. It's I just don't like playing by these people's rules, by having to bow down. I used to call him to Bust It Open, and I used to enjoy myself calling to that show. When Bully Ray joined that show, it was like he got instructions from the Howard Stern crew, because he's a Howard Stern fan. So he would always bring up Howard Stern and try to stir shit up, and I played along. And eventually, after a while, I snapped and I fucking cussed Dave LaGreca and Bully Ray out because I was tired of being used by that. You know what I mean? I call him to post wrestling, but I'm not super relevant, but I kind of killed my momentum by not calling into Busted Open anymore because they became a mainstream sports entertainment radio show, basically.
Oh, right, with Bully, like you said, Bully Ray's on that show, right?
God, he ruined that fucking show, bro. It used to be a good show. He just ruined every fucking thing.
I've always been a Dudley's mark, but I've heard things about. I've heard things about him. Yes.
But when you trust me, Matt, if you interacted with this fucking guy, you would go, this guy's a fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Did you ever hear the stories about what he did to Randy Orton when Randy Orton first broke in?
I just heard about that one where he Randy Orton dropkicked him or something, and Randy Orton fell on Bubba Ray fell on Randy Orton's leg, and Randy Orton's leg broke, and then Bubba blamed Randy Orton for hurting his back, even though Randy Orton's leg broke. That was the story, right?
Yes, something like that. It's Batista has a whole fucking chapter calling Bubba Ray Dudley an asshole in it, when basically. And he feels like he can just, no pun intended, bully people around. But it's you didn't even have you didn't get enough respect from Vince McMahon to be allowed to be Bully Ray. So it's like, who the fuck are you? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you worked on a singles character and you got over in TNA, and Vince McMahon still didn't see anything in you. He says, you know what, just be the Dudley Boys. You know what I mean? So like, who the fuck are you to like act like an expert? Because I just hate his hypocrisy of telling people like, oh, be safe. But like, you literally came in an era where you're putting people through tables, flaming tables. Like, who the fuck are you? Like, I'm not saying that it isn't valid, but I think some people's whole criticism of being safe, like, is coming from bad faith. You know what I mean? Because unless they know something's going to happen in the future with this industry, it's like they're trying to plant seeds for what they know. Because everyone keeps planting a seed online that someone's going to die in an AEW ring. And it's like, do you guys know something that we fucking don't? Or you know what I mean? It's like it's kind of like, you know, especially with Darby Allin like putting out like all these little like, oh, I could be dying soon, whatever, all the time. Like they always do that kind of shit. You know what I mean? And it kind of freaks me out because you don't know how fundamentalist this industry is in the overall sense, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? That's just my conspiratorial thing. I'm not saying you got to believe in it. I just think that a lot of like injuries and all that type of shit is all systemic. Like it's like you're constantly doing Game of Thrones shit. Like, oh, you pay for your fame, so you gotta break your leg once in a while. That's your sacrifice to the industry, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Because we have to give like the wrestling promotion credit for going, oh look guys, they stopped the match. But it's like the injury doesn't even have to happen. He didn't have to go from a ladder through fucking glass. You know what I mean? It's like, so what you doing? Like, you know what's gonna fucking happen, bro. You know, it just pisses me off. But listen, what did you think about the CM Punk interview? Did you listen to it?
I did. I think this one's, you know, I'm a huge Punk fan. I always will be. He's
I'm a Punk fan too, even though I have a personal vendetta.
I do think he I think some of the things he says make sense. I think other things he said doesn't make sense. I think he's clearly someone who contributed to the issue. He's not completely innocent, I think, like he sort of presents. I think his issue with Hangman Page is overblown because it's hypocritical, because Punk is known for going off script and doing his own thing if it makes sense in a promo. I think his beef with the Elite, they both sides share the blame. I think they both took things over the top.
I agree.
I think his beef with Jack Perry is like 90, maybe 80% Jack Perry's fault. That one, except for the getting physical part after Jack Perry did his thing on air about the glass, that's all on Jack Perry. Jack Perry was being, you know, that was on him.
From a working class, because you cover working class stuff. Okay, do you think that everyone's exaggerating, going nuts about him saying that people shouldn't make guaranteed money?
I would like to know more about what he meant by that.
The thing is, it's still stupid because the promoter's still gonna dictate who gets to fucking get more time, anyways.
Because I do think wrestlers should get guaranteed money, obviously.
I do too. Yeah, I do.
However, I also think, and I don't know if this is happening, if they get guaranteed money, they should also get bonuses based on performance. Exactly. Like if you are the main draw, you should be getting more than your guarantee. You shouldn't be locked into that guaranteed amount. You know, if you break out and become a star while you're still under contract for a guaranteed amount for like 5 more years or something. Do you know what I mean? There should always be a guarantee plus a percentage on top.
See, that makes sense, whatever, right? See, that's why, listen, that's one of the things that I dislike about, listen, and it's a controversial thing. Listen, until it gets confirmed, I'll just tell you briefly. I think part of my beef with, like, I'll explain, like, briefly, like, the little beef that I have with Punk, whatever. I felt in 2011 when, like, the next fucking generation of people from different avenues were being promoted in their institutions, I what's it called freaked out and I fucking wanted to quit the Stern show. And I felt that with the called like CM Punk would fucking I felt like him and his trolls would fucking troll me a lot, but he would also be rubbing it in my face about not fucking wanting to go to the next level, even though I was worried about my mental health. And I think like one of the reasons why he has beef is because like I kept assuming that Howard has like connections with WWE and he knows a lot of these people, and I would be calling it out all the time. So I think it fucking prevented CM Punk from going on Howard Stern show. I think he wanted to go on that. But I think behind the scenes, I kind of played a role by being like breaking the fourth wall that it didn't happen. You'd have to settle for going on other shows that were on the actual on the network. So I think he wanted to be one of those wrestlers that wanted to work an angle with me because a lot of wrestlers will work angles with Howard Stern whack packers essentially. And I was like Adam, I was like in a very bad space at that time, whatever. But then eventually, I kept taking subtle jabs at like how he's taking subtle jabs, and then he just blocked me randomly. I didn't even tag him in it. So I knew he was aware of me, you know what I mean? But I don't hate the guy. I can admit that even though there's like a personal thing, I can also the part that I hate the most is most of his shills online who, for example, let's say CM Punk was still with the company and AEW did all those releases, right? If CM Punk was still with the company, all these Punk shills would be shitting on the talent because they would be shitting on the talent when CM Punk was there. Oh, don't watch because of these fucking bums and all that kind of shit. Whenever, like, my issue is that I was pointing out that there was errors and fucking fucked up shit going on with AEW behind the scenes when Big Swole fucking just made a critique about diversity and miscommunication errors. And the same CM Punk shills who are now on CM Punk's side pretending they're feuding with a billionaire were the ones that were piling on and saying racist shit to Swole. I understand Swole isn't as big as CM Punk, whatever. I just hate this notion that it only becomes an issue when CM Punk gets screwed over. Like, I'm not saying he shouldn't voice when he gets screwed over by WWE, but there's been a bunch of people before CM Punk that probably got put on Z-Pack and had to perform were fucking neglected because of Vince McMahon shit. It only became an issue because CM Punk happened to had to happen to him. That's what I fucking hate. He only seems to be out for himself. That's the main issue that I have. And when you set yourself up as a truth teller, a voice of the voiceless, I have an issue with that, if that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, I think it does. I think the whole thing is it's clear that like if you're taking a single side here, you're obviously wrong. This is obviously, people are dropping off the show because they don't know what we're talking about. But it's WrestleMania week. It's WrestleMania week. So no, it's WrestleMania week. So this is what we're talking about. Sorry, folks. It's WrestleMania week. But CM Punk clearly has a problem with these guys, and they clearly had a problem with CM Punk. Was it always that way? Of course not. It seemed there's video of CM Punk excited to work with them. They were excited to work with Punk. It clearly broke down. Punk obviously took things the wrong way. I think in some instances he was being a bit hypocritical. At the same time, it's very clear that the elite was, once this broke down, instead of smoothing it over, decided to gang up and sort of ostracize Punk, and take it to a place where it shouldn't have. And obviously, as executives in the company, they should have actually acted better than Punk. I don't care what people say about Punk being a veteran or whatever. The point of the matter is, in the corporation that is All Elite Wrestling, the Bucks, Kenny Omega, those guys are executives in the business. They're not just wrestlers. They should have handled it better than Punk, period. And second of all, I think Jack Perry clearly is almost completely at fault for what he did. There was no reason for him to escalate it, knowing how things already were. Like he
Yeah,
knew how the situation was. He knew how Punk was being. Why what is it? Mess with the bee's nest or something? Like
yeah.
he there was no reason for him to do that. And he did it.
Do you want to before I move on? Do you want to know what I think on some level? I would because I always believed that WWE like sent. I personally believe that WWE sent NWO to really take over WCW like by
Did
like
you really
getting
believe that? Because
no, because well, well, here's the thing. In the overall sense, I feel like these wrestling companies are work shoots where they knew that like wrestling fucking like things that were gonna buzz in the late '90s, like Howard Stern, Jerry Springer. I felt they knew, and they knew there was a lifeline for it. And I think, in my personal opinion, this is why I don't like dumbing down billionaires. I think after Attitude Era, WWE knew they were going to be a discourse company where maybe like I feel like they own the industry where they basically throw money under the table for other things to exist while looking like the villains. So part of me feels like if WWE is kind of going down in some way in the future, it feels like Tony Khan now is sending people to WWE to take it down. So maybe Tony Khan is sending CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, and he's sending MJ. I think MJF is showing up at WrestleMania, by the way. I think he's going to help Cody win the title. That's my prediction.
No,
MJF.
I don't think so. I think that would be giving someone who is basically unknown to the WWE audience way too high of a position.
Dude, people will pop for him. Trust me. I'm guaranteeing you.
I would be surprised. I'm not saying it can't happen, but I would actually be very surprised. Even Cody didn't get that. He got a surprise appearance at WrestleMania, but he got it in just a match. He wasn't involved in a main event or a high up sort of. And this was a guy who was in the WWE, so I can't imagine them doing that. Maybe we'll get a Goldust appearance.
I think there will be a Goldust appearance. I hope the brand. Yeah, well, one thing about Cody that I do agree with Cody that Brandy Rhodes got scapegoated for a lot of shit because listen, man, I have empathy. Like, I'm not saying that like the way that Cody and Brandy like they act like social media characters, so there's a lot of vitriol toward them, whatever. But I always felt like the vitriol towards Brandy is like, oh, why is she having this power? She's just Cody's wife. It's like, who was Stephanie McMahon? How did Triple H get fucking power? He was just a wrestler. Triple H fucking like basically sucked Vince McMahon's dick basically because of the Montreal screw job, and that's what made him untouchable from that point forward. But did you follow the McMahon stuff this week? Because the reason why I'm pointing it out because now even some of these right wing wrestling media outlets online, they're now like using political culture war topics. They're like, oh, this lawyer for Janelle Grant is a feminist Democrat trying to take down Vince McMahon.
Really? I haven't seen that. Where that's happening?
There's one notorious account that is like clearly a Vince McMahon defender. So, you know what I mean? But like, I pointed out that what they're doing because they're the same type of account that are talking about trans people being groomers and shit like that. So I'm like, oh, so you're gonna defend a groomer? Like, so did you read the details about the letter that she had to write?
I did. The New York Post reported it, right? That apparently, and this is clearly, obviously leaked by Vince and his side. She apparently penned a love letter to Vince. Her lawyer is saying that she was forced to pen that letter under duress. I mean, the letter means nothing. It means nothing.
Well, I mean, his defenders are thinking that it proves that Vince McMahon that she was in love with. I got you know who I got into an argument with. You're an ECW fan, right?
What?
You're an ECW fan, right?
I was a huge ECW fan. I went to tons of ECW shows as a kid too.
You'll appreciate who I got into an argument with on social media because she was defending Vince McMahon. You know Jasmine St. Clair?
I remember Jasmine St. Clair, yes.
What's it called? So she starts mocking Janelle Grant by saying, oh, Vince, I'll write you love letters better than her and I won't extort you and all that. And then I should have said this, but I lost it. I hate when people shame. Well, I hate when women, especially, shame fucking other women for standing up because I understand maybe something happened to Jasmine St. Clair in the industry. She feels like that's part of the program, and she complains. So I said to her, "You probably had to blow Paul Heyman, but there was no money to extort because he was so broke. So you got caught with Blue Meanie, basically."
Well, you could have. That was a bit unnecessary. You be the better person.
No, but she goes to me, I think you're a troll. And I said to her, I'm like, I'm the troll? You're writing fucking fake love letters to mock a fucking rape and abuse victim. You know what I mean? So
I
she,
mean, listen,
she
she
ended,
was obviously being wrong. She's the wrong one, but be a better person.
I when these people, the thing is, Matt, when these people are fucking completely evil, you gotta fight evil with evil, man. You know what I mean? I'm so sick. Like between her and Val Venus, like I pointed out also that if you're gonna be a troll, you're gonna do right way fucking trolling. Do better numbers. You're doing my numbers where I don't get any traction at all whatsoever. You know what I mean? At least do like Charlie Kirk numbers or something like that. She can barely get like 2 retweets for something that she says. You know what I mean?
I mean, a lot of people are just talking to the wind, honestly, on Twitter now.
No, I get you, man. Hey, listen, man. I didn't want to take too much of your time. I'm sorry for killing your audience. Over these
No,
topics,
no, no.
whatever, you
See,
know what I
it's
mean?
we're winding down. It's WrestleMania weekend. I wanted to talk about something a bit
I'll
lighter too. So this was
I'll
perfect. It
just
was a perfect call.
I'll just say this about Palestine Israel thing, dude. What's even like the thing is like I know what direction it's going. I know what the end times Like, I don't believe in this end times prophecy. I don't believe in fundamentalist prophecy of like going, "Are people the chosen?" type of deal. But because I know what called the pro-Israel side is with the Christian Zionist side, I feel like they're passing the torch to people like Candace Owens to lead the charge for because as soon as she got fired from Ben Shapiro's thing, she starts putting on espousing shit like, "Oh, they're trying to wipe out Christianity." And I feel like Christian fundamentalism actually it's where show business is going now. Like I feel like where this alt media and streaming is, I feel like that's where showbiz is going now. And you're having certain truth tellers about shady practices that might have Jewish powerful people behind the scenes that are not because they're Jewish, but because they're just fundamentalists. But like that exists. And I feel like Candace Owens, by using certain people who are powerful behind the scenes, it's easy for Candace Owens to then go, you see, Jewish people do run shit. But it's like there's a lot of fundamentalism that runs shit behind the scenes. It doesn't matter what, it doesn't matter if you're black, gay, brown. You know what I mean? It feels like if you're a part of the industry, you have to perpetuate fundamentalist shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even if you have a good message. Like, for example, like people think that Diddy is actually a Democrat, but he might actually just be a Republican. But you know what I mean? Like, his followers don't think that him posing with Trump means that Trump could be guilty of anything. But because he's, taking a picture with Obama or someone that's Jewish, that must mean that it's Jewish Democrats that are doing shit. So I'm just worried about the direction of where the world's going, man. And I feel I'm sorry for calling in always being doom and gloom about it, but I feel like there's no one else to talk to about politics and where the overall structure of where everything is going. You know what I mean? It feels like it's by design that everything is going in this direction.
No, yeah, I hear what you're saying.
You know,
Yeah, it's
I'm leaving
no,
you.
you're. What was
I'm
that?
leaving you. I'm leaving you like I always like spout off shit, and then you got nothing to say about it. So I just feel like I fucking let you down and shit. So
No, no, no. Sometimes you just make a point, and
move on. I get. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I'm sorry.
it's a good.
Think,
Yeah,
think,
I see what you're saying, and I think you're. I don't know if that's. I mean, obviously, the real, the real individuals in control of everything are just very rich and powerful and wealthy people. It's not anyone of any particular religion or race
exactly.
or background or ethnicity. It is just a cohort of rich and powerful people looking out for their own best interests, and they will support whoever or whatever is mutually beneficial in the moment, and they will drop whatever it's whenever, and they'll drop it whenever it's beneficial for them. That's just how it is.
I get you.
But yes, conspiracy theorists and right wingers love to jump on these things in order to rile up their base and scapegoat and yeah.
Well, but that's a scary thing. Is that like for example, like if this were 10 years ago, right? As a Muslim, I never felt that there was ever any real support from mainstream. Like even if there's like half-ass support. So I know that there's a million of people, that regular people, that are in my boat from like 10, 15 years ago, where like you're like, wow, all these Israeli interests, they don't even care about what they're doing. They're just gaslighting us more and more. And I feel like because you have no one to go to, I feel like that's a perfect way for bad faith actors like like a fucking Jackson Hinkle or a Candace Owens to go, oh, come to our side. We're pro-Palestine. And then they're gonna lead you into being anti-Semitic against the common Jewish people that have nothing to do with this, and that's what I'm worried about. I'm not like I'm worried about like genocide, but like I'm also worried about like people being lured in by bad faith actors, and I feel like if I point that out, people think that I'm not taking the genocide seriously when bare minimum to meet me in is calling it a fucking genocide. If you deny that there's a genocide going on, you're denying all these war crimes and you're denying the oppression, then I got nothing to fucking say to you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to talk to Ben Glebe or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not talking to people that do IDF talking points. But at the same time, I also don't want to fall. I don't want to go because, bro, almost went into the anti-Semitic territory because I felt everyone was generalizing me as a Muslim. That I felt like, okay, so what's the big deal if I generalize Jewish people? Why, if I generalize all of Israel and say, you know what, Israel shouldn't exist? I've been treated that way. And now I worry about people that might feel like that might get lured into that trap. And I feel like no one's going to stop this. And it feels like it's already predetermined where it's going. And that's what scares me. That's why so hyper focused on this shit. You know what I mean? I apologize for wasting so much of your time with this. You know what I mean?
No,
but
it's a good. No, you brought an array of different good conversations. I mean, I see what you're saying. Absolutely. I mean, there was that that famous Palestinian poet who was killed a couple months ago, who said that he thought this is what he sees in Gaza his whole life. He thought it was all Jewish people. He thought this is just that was his entire experience of Jewish people, and so he found himself, he didn't know at the time, but he had anti-Semitic views, and then as he got the ability to interact with people outside of his small bubble, and he was able to meet with people outside of Gaza and the West Bank and Israel. He found out that wasn't the case, that the Jewish people are not the one and the same with the Israeli regime, the IDF. It's just, and he opened his eyes, and he said he regretted ever believing these things, but it was his experience. But once he was able to get out of that bubble, he discovered something new. I think that's very important, and I think it takes a big person to do that too, to even say that and realize that. I mean,
no, I think like I've been in that guy's position because I just feel like, hey, if people are generalizing you, your mindset is like, okay, so then why do I have to, like, as somebody that's battled the online shit, like being like, I have nowhere to go to, so the only place I can go to are on conspiracy message boards of people who seem pro-Palestine, but then they would implement shit like, yeah, you see, Hitler didn't want to get rid of all Jewish people. He just wanted to get rid of Zionists. And they'll implement small shit like that. So then you go, oh shit. So you end up going in the anti-Semitic territory. Do you remember the 2010s when I should think because the online community were the ones that were keeping it real and the people that had platforms were the propagandists when they started fucking uplifting David Duke again in the 2010s. And then I kept pointing out, I'm like, okay, I didn't know much about this guy because I didn't follow politics, but isn't he a KKK guy? And then they would point out and going, hey, he's not a KKK guy anymore because Hillary Clinton, she met with a KKK guy named David Byrd. So both these parties have mingled with them. It doesn't mean their points are like. Do you remember the 2010s when there was like a resurgence of David Duke just appearing on the TYT or appearing on all alt media?
Yeah, I
He
mean,
would
in like 2015, he was all over the place.
he was like doing pro-Palestinian stuff as well. Like that was like where
Oh, these
where,
guys
like
always take advantage of that stuff. I mean, the right's a little split on this one. Half of them are super Islamophobic and hate Middle Eastern people, so they are, and Israel's a right-wing government, so they are pro-Israel, just wiping out Gaza. And then you get the other half that view this as an opportunity to really hate Jewish people. And pick up people on that side too. So you have the anti-Semites fighting with the Islamophobes over what the correct position is on Israel and Palestine. But neither of them really care. It's all to scapegoat and build their own ranks for their own power.
But before I go, does it bother you though that people who say that online that they're leftist will put out shit like, "Wow, Alex Jones is outflanking Joe Biden"?
Yes, because it's not at all. It's not outflanking anything. It's pure opportunism. Now, if it's someone like Joe Rogan out there talking about this, I think that's a little bit different. I think, obviously this is a guy who'll probably change based on who his next guest is, and I wouldn't be surprised to hear him all of a sudden talking about how great Israel is again. But, that recent Joe Rogan episode where he talked about how, there's a genocide going on in Gaza and he can't believe what's going on with his guest. I think something like that is helpful. It doesn't mean you follow Joe Rogan's lead. It doesn't mean Joe Rogan's a leader on the issue. It's just he's got a super influential, really big, popular podcast. And if he's saying this on that, there could be a decent amount of people who hear that and look into the issue more.
But Joe Rogan has also been one that normalized a lot of anti-Muslim sentiment with his fucking stuff.
Exactly right. So, but I'm not saying you say, oh, Joe Rogan's outflanking him. You just see how this could be, how him talking about it could just be beneficial because his audience is so large.
All right, I took too much of your time. I apologize to other callers. I'm sorry about wasting so much time, but I always appreciate these conversations. I feel like it's cathartic to talk to you about politics and wrestling and get out my theories. You don't even if you don't agree with my theories, you don't completely like make me feel like an asshole because you know that I'm not going right wing with my conspiracy theories. All right, so thank you. I appreciate you, man.
Wait, I don't make you feel like an asshole? Fuck, I thought I was doing my job here. No, I'm joking.
Hadzi,
I love when you call. Seriously, I love talking with you on this show and having these conversations. Please always call in. I really appreciate it. Take care. Have a great night.
Peace out, man.
All right, I'll take one more call. I think. Let's see. We got someone else calling in. Let's take this. Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, shit. Hold on, Matt. Let me take you off.
Whoa. Your phone sounds like you're underwater. Hello?
Yeah, I got to take off the headset.
Okay, all right. I'll give you a second. All right. I wasn't sure what was going on there. I thought maybe it was just a bad connection.
All right. Let's see. Speaker.
Hello?
Okay, I got it.
Hey, how are you? What's your name? Where are you calling from?
All right. So this is Joe Snuffy calling from Rhode Island. Let me just go into hopefully.
Hello?
Okay.
Can
can you hear me okay?
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah, all right, yeah. I work at a shipyard, so just calling from towards the end of my shift.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Oh, well, yeah, it's work. But yeah, if you hear a bunch of like machine noise in the background, that's what that is. So wanted to call in. I guess I got 2 points. And this is nice. It's been about 2 years since I've been able to actually call in.
Wow.
Because I'm not free until you're done. So first one is that I've got an analogy. This is like a nerdy one, I guess, to kind of like communicate my feelings on like Biden's reaction and the government's reaction to every time there's a new atrocity that Israel, that we become aware of that Israel's done. And it's so, okay, in horror movies, and particularly, it's particularly common in like zombie or vampire or werewolf films. You know the trope where a character learns like they haven't gotten bitten, but they know that, oh no, like my loved one's been bitten. And where instead of, dealing with it, telling people or anything like that, instead the character, once they learn that, someone they care about's infected, instead they do everything they can to conceal that from everyone and to, silence and or kill anyone that tries to, point out to everybody that, hey, they're actually now like this bloodthirsty monster that feeds on the lives of the innocent. And then, in the most extreme cases, they also start, try to serve up a steady supply of fresh victims so that their loved one can remain well fed. And that's kind of what I feel like, how the Biden administration keeps reacting to things. It's like at this point, everyone knows and everyone sees what Israel is. I guess the only difference is that in this analogy is that Israel, like, they didn't just get bitten, and then turned into like a vampire or a zombie or something. It's like, no, they've been this monster the entire fucking time. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting analogy. I think, you're onto something there. I mean, yeah, listen, I didn't bring this up in the first half because I didn't want to. It doesn't feel relevant. But we got, I mentioned without saying anyone specific that you got celebrities out there shocked or enraged by the food aid workers from World Center Kitchen being killed by these Israeli airstrikes, but then they don't connect what was going on or what's been going on. And one example of that is the guy who runs World Central Kitchen, Chef Jose Andres. Someone pointed out, and it's true, that in October, he attacked on Twitter a politician in Spain for calling out Israel's war crimes in October. And he said, you as minister have to first recognize that the Hamas attack against civilians is a terrorist act and that Israel is just defending its citizens. How can you ask for restraint and respect for the lives of civilians in Gaza while this is going on? I mean, this is shocking coming from this guy. And now he is shocked that this happened, that 7 of his people were killed. And now he's out there saying this was a targeted attack from Israel. And it's like, dude,
what? The leopards eat my face? How could this happen?
People were saying this, and you attacked them for it, man. And now you see what happened. I mean, this has been Israel. This has always been Israel, and in fact, it's gotten worse. Like maybe decades ago, you could argue that this isn't really who Israel is, and that there were just certain points in history where this happened.
Put more constraints on them at that point.
Right. But it's clear as day now that this is what Israel is. This is the government. This is the country. And unfortunately, at this point, it's also a very significant portion of the people who live there they have been like imagine a country that has been almost completely brainwashed, as like the U.S. was directly after September 11th, when everyone was gung ho to just go to war, and everyone 90-something% of the country was pro Bush. Imagine that never ended. Imagine the country only just got more radical year after year, instead of eventually going, hey, wait a minute, this is wrong.
Yeah, it's the future the right wants. That's why the Nazis have always been so in favor and like enamored with Israel for the last like 25 years. I mean, hey, I'll just say it to finish up on Israel that Joe Biden is older than the state of Israel, and I hope that he outlives it. But the other thing that I was actually wanted to call in about is so 2 years ago I tried calling in, and I ran into the same problem. Headset, you couldn't understand what I was saying. I wasn't able to get to a quiet area, and I brought up the topic. I'm curious, you probably don't remember it, but I mentioned the topic that the supplement industry. I think the Liver King or somebody. There's something that you were talking about, like supplements for some reason. With the supplement industry, no new supplement has been brought to market since 1994. And you were interested in the topic, but then never was actually able to call in and talk about it. So
wait, no new supplement. Say this again.
Yeah. So there has not been a single new compound specific. So not the brand, not the label, but not the formulation. But there has not been a single new compound that has been brought to market in the nutritional supplement or herbal remedy market since 1994. So in 30 years.
So what you're saying here is that there's an opportunity for a budding entrepreneur to
Well, I mean, yeah, pretty much. But there's a book that I would recommend. It's a couple of years old. It's Do You Believe in Magic? The Science and Nonsense of Alternative Medicine, and it explains the history and development of all of these alternative cancer regimen like movements, the like herbal remedy like movements, all this nonsense, the creation of the supplement industry. It basically tracks the history and development of that up to a little bit pre-COVID. I don't know if there's been anything added to it since then. So most people don't know this, but the dietary supplements aren't really properly regulated by the FDA. Like they are somewhat, but they're specifically governed under what's called the DSHEA Act. So it's the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act of 1994. And the DSHEA Act, it was a senator from Utah who was it Warren, like Earl Warren or shoot, I'm forgetting. Yeah, big senator from Utah in like the 90s, who was like personally, well, yeah, he was invested. He like super personally bought into the nonsense of like alternative cancer remedies, and he, when there was a movement by or plan by the FDA to start regulating dietary supplements, because remember, between 28,000 and 50,000 Americans die every year from health supplements. And I'm not even talking about like steroids or anything. I'm talking about anything that you can pick up at like a vitamin shop, almost anything, especially if it's an herbal remedy. People have no idea that there are interactions between different herbs and medications you might be on, or health conditions that you have. When it comes to vitamin supplements, people have no idea because they're never taught that for every micronutrient, which is a vitamin is just a mineral. We just have this like weird subcategory because over time we had think of it as it's kind of like the reason why the categories for star types are so weird where if you look at a star and then you look up, okay, what's like the numeric code to tell you like what type of star it is, the system doesn't really make much sense because it's actually a combination of like 3 separate systems that got developed over the course of a few hundred years. So when it comes to why do we call some micronutrients minerals and others vitamins, which just means life, like, or minerals that you need to live, it's just because you have different systems that got merged together over time. But with any micronutrient, you have what's called a you have the UI, the tolerable upper intake level, which is the point where if you consume more than this, it becomes toxic and you start suffering negative health effects from toxicity. And the vast majority of vitamin supplements that you can get have toxic quantities of the micronutrients that are in them. Like most vitamin C supplements that you get over the counter are like 30 grapefruits worth of vitamin C per pill. And if you were curious, the toxicity effects for vitamin C in the short term are gastrointestinal upset and diarrhea and headaches. But anyways, so there was an effort by the FDA in the early 90s. They announced a plan. It was one of these things where, like, government has to announce they're going to do regulations. It's going to go for public comment for like a year, and then it gets implemented. So they announced they were going to start regulating these things like any other drug. In that, to sell them, you would have to prove efficacy and safety. Because literally that's the standard that the FDA has for medication. Just, is it effective and is it safe? And there was a huge national media blitz by the then pretty nascent supplement industry that got a number of celebrities on board, like, just crazy freaking, most of them being like super right-wing celebrities of the time who they got like super bought into these alternative remedies. And they did this national media campaign to terrify the public, literally running ads where they would have like a fake SWAT team storm. Oh gosh, I'm forgetting the actor's name. The guy who was in Braveheart, I'm forgetting his name.
Oh my God, I'm having a mental block too. Hold on.
We can just call him Braveheart. So yeah,
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson was in that ad where the SWAT team like storms into a house, into the kitchen with like, flashlights, but implied gunpoint, and he turns around with holding a bottle and says, "Oh, guys, it's just vitamins." And so they were literally terrifying the public into thinking that jackbooted thugs were going to come into your grandma's house and take away her, like, capsaicin or whatever. And so due to the public, response, FDA, they abandoned the regulation. So then Congress gets involved, and I think it was Orrin Hatch. I'm pretty sure it was Orrin Hatch.
Okay.
He gets involved, and because he's super hardcore convinced by all the industry bullshit. And he introduces this bill to say, hey, no, we're Congress, we're going to act on this in the public's interest. And so they passed the bill that made this special category for supplements and herbal remedies, that they don't have to prove safety or efficacy. So it can literally be poison, and they can know that, and they can sell it to you. But to qualify for that carve out, they have to have their few stipulations. The first one is that they cannot actually make any medical or health claims regarding the product. So they can't say, vitamin C, take this, you have a cold, take this vitamin C supplement, and it will help you get over your cold. They legally cannot actually do that. But they're allowed to make what are called structure or function claims, which is, instead of saying that, they can say that, take this vitamin C supplement, it'll help you get over a cold. Instead, they are legally allowed to say, vitamin C is a vital component of a healthy, well-functioning immune system. So they're saying the same thing, just in a more roundabout way, with more plausible deniability. And then the other carve out, and Hatch didn't want this, but it got added as like an amendment, was that this would only apply to compounds that had already been on the market prior to the passage of the bill. So every single thing that the supplement industry has marketed, every compound that they have brought to market for the last 30 years, and that, the supplement industry, they live on hype. They live on telling you, oh, this is the most brand new thing. We've got, we got boatloads of scientists doing all the science, and this is the most scientific, cool new thing, and give us your money. So they live on that hype and on, oh, this is the newest new thing. Nothing new has come out in 30 years. So I used to work as a personal trainer, and I've got even though I work as a welder, I have a master's in physical education. This is America. Can't really make a living as a teacher. So wound up doing this, but yeah, so like that's why I'm a big nerd on this shit.
No, it's really interesting. I would love to, I look more into it and potentially do an episode on it, because it seems like there's obviously a lot there.
Well, yeah, and another angle on things too is that there are actually only a few manufacturers in the U.S. who actually produce these supplements. The vast majority of supplements are, like you go into any company and it's just like how you go into your grocery store, you'll see dozens and dozens of brands of the same thing, and it's all owned by like 4 parent companies. With the supplement industry, anytime a celebrity comes out with and starts hawking their new like supplement brand or something, what they're doing is they're going through a manufacturer who will produce their branded stuff for them to help them develop a formula, let them pick out the packaging and design the label, all that kind of stuff. And it's like they don't even charge like royalties on it. It's just like a flat fee. And on a lark, I looked into it a couple of years ago, and to actually get started, selling your own supplement line, depending on what specific supplements you want to try to market, you can start doing it for as little as about $4,000.
Oh wow.
Yep. And people do it because this shit, the markups on like most supplements are completely useless, and they're also insanely cheap. They are also super adulterated. There was some minor reforms to the GI Act in I think 2015, where the manufacturers have to actually put what is on the label in the quantities that it's on the label in the product, and the FDA is allowed to test for that. They're also allowed to inspect the manufacturer's sites for cleanliness because of all the rat feces and dead rat parts and human fingernails and other shit that was winding up in all of this stuff. People also will literally use like cow manure in supplements. Like you really don't want to eat most of these things. I think that for a while, Alex Jones, one of his big like protein powder things, it's they were selling it as I forget what the exact. I think they're selling it as a beef powder, but that's because the due to like really fucked up like a Department of Agriculture like regulations, you're actually allowed to classify any liquefied meat byproduct, like the whole concept of pink slime. Doesn't matter what animal it comes from. You're able to label that as finely ground beef. And so this thing where it's like, oh, it's like this beef powder. It's like, well, actually it was ground up chicken bones. So yeah, so the industry's, like I said, people, they jump into this stuff because it's an insanely profitable market. The profit margins are insanely high, and people, they genuinely like just don't fucking care about the harm that they cause people. And I always get really frustrated with like the whole thing of like, oh, it's the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act, but it specifically actually does not require the the manufacturers, like they actually don't have to educate you. Like the bottle doesn't have to say what the fucking thing does. And then there's one last angle on this that's popping in my head is that shoot, what was it? Oh man, I just had it. Shit.
No, it's it's okay if you don't have it was you brought a lot.
Yeah, I'm not super oh, it had to do with that last point about people not actually getting told like what any of this shit does. But shoot. I'm gonna remember it in like 5 minutes and just be fucking kicking myself.
Don't worry about it. You could always call back in another day, and we could have more to talk about.
Yeah. Anyways, it's like I said, it's really. I think that you would find it really interesting if you, you're always talking about starting like a 7th or 8th podcast. So if you wanted to, do one when we started exploring the absolute fucking dumpster fire that is the fitness industry, then there'd be a lot of content. Could talk about how there are literally no unions at all in that sector, and it didn't really exist prior to Ronald Reagan. So the average like personal trainer at a gym is getting paid about 1/6 of what the gym's charging, and so it's actually like pretty much impossible to make a living doing that unless you start hawking supplements, which is why most people do. So anyways, thanks for letting me talk your ear off about this. Like I said, it's like every time I've tuned into your show for the last like 2 years, I'm like, oh man, I need to fucking call in at some point and actually tell them about this stuff. So.
No, thank you for the thank you for the call. This was really interesting. I got to look more into it though. It's hard to sort of like keep up with it all. You know what I mean? Hearing it for the first time.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, like I said, check out look into that book. Do you believe in magic? Science and nonsense of alternative medicine. It's got I think about 1/3 of it covers this.
Will do.
All right. Well, you have a good night, man.
You too. Take care.
Bye.
That was really interesting. I gotta sit down and find out more because it was also kind of hard to sort of follow without seeing it in front of me. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, let's read the super chats. I think that's all for calls for tonight. Yeah, this gotta be a scam economy episode there with the supplements and the gym industry. All right, cool. Let's go to the super chats. Oh, over on Patreon. Thank you so much, Peace Seeker, for becoming a patron. Really appreciate it. Let me read all of Renee's super chats really quick because there's a few in a row. Rogue seems going pretty much going to plan to me, says Renee, talking about Israel. Posting on social media upsets the top brass. Kind of weird that Palestine is proud of the Fenians but don't support Palestine. Sarcasm. Nice try, NATO Kanda. Same Khani family as Mayor. I don't know what Renee is talking about there. And then Renee says, isn't Candace Owens the triumph of the shill? That's pretty good, actually. There's a few more people trying to call on Skype. It's almost midnight. I'm going to call it a night with the calls, guys. Sorry. Definitely I'll take your calls first next week, I promise. I see you guys and I will keep note in Skype, okay? Gio with the super chat. Why was World Center Kitchen allowed to operate in Gaza? Because they were approved by Israel. Ryan Lennon fan with a super chat. My years of chats and calls about electoralism not working are vindicated. Now read State and Revolution, Matt. Mike Thompson with a super chat. Can't tell my kids or future grandkids that I voted for genocide. Breaks my heart. Mike Thompson with another super chat. Could Trump be harder on Israel because of his ties to Saudi Arabia? I got no idea. I'm not going to speculate, though, about what Trump can or cannot do, because he could do anything. You can't really figure him out like that, if you ask me. Isn't Alexander gifted 5 gifted 5 you can tell I'm getting tired now, right? Alexander gifted 5 memberships. Thank you so much, Alexander. And Tokyo Hans with a super chat. Such amazing callers. Always walk away learning something new from this stream. I appreciate that. That's awesome. I'm glad that that's the case. Over on Twitch, let's see. Amused Mob resubscribed with Prime. Subscriber for 20 months. The uncommitted vote felt fantastic. Permanent ceasefire now, and sanctions won't start to be enough. Mountain Dude resubscribed with Prime. They've been subscribed for 2 months. You're the best, Binder. Oh, thank you, Mountain Dude. One Great Earth resubscribed with Prime. Subscriber for 4 months. Oh, that started a hype train before. Thank you. Amuse Mob cheered a bit. Nobody knows what to say, Matt. You're not alone. Keep fighting the good fight. What makes us different from the MAGA fascists is we speak out against the people we voted for. This census taker subscribed with Prime. Thank you so much. And Tokyo Hans resubscribed for 1 month at Tier 1. Subscriber for 21 months. Wow. Oh, shit. Can't believe it's been this long, says Tokyo Hans. Really appreciate it. And with that being said... Skype is the best way to call in next time, Josway. Just search Doomed Live and you can call next time. I will check that out, Nanark. And please call in next week to talk about it, okay? All right, folks. Majority Report. I'll be on the Majority Report tomorrow. I will be on Leftist Mafia tomorrow. I believe Ole is joining us tomorrow. Who should I rate on Twitch? And one more time, patreon.com/MattBinder if you can afford to become a paying monthly subscriber. If you can't, please don't. But if you can, be very appreciated if you enjoy the show. Who should I rate on Twitch? Let's see. Who's on right now? Let's see. I see that Actual Jake is on. I could rate Actual Jake. Haven't heard. Ole will be on Leftist Mafia, not Majority Report. Ole will be on Leftist Mafia. Just to be clear. Oh, and happy birthday, Danark. All right, yeah, let's rate, where did it go? Actual Jake. All right, folks. Have a great night. I will see you all next time on, is Actual Jake on? Oh, yeah, they are. Okay, that was weird. Why is it showing up like this on my feed? Oh, I see. Okay. All right, folks. See you all next time on Doomed. It would help if I rated Actual Jake when I said I was going to rate Actual Jake. Unbelievable. I'm a mess right now. All right, now I will see you all next time on Doomed.